we've changed the life of a lot of dogs, but we've also changed the life of a lot of people as well. So people, dogs, pugs, people's families, and
Yes.
they bring a lot of love and happiness to everyone. And yeah, people will sort of often say, I didn't rescue them or I didn't adopt them. They sort of saved me. They rescued me.
Hello, humans and puggies. Welcome to the Pug Life Show, brought to you by Pug Parties, because your pug deserves to be the best dressed at the porty. And you can check out their outfits at pugparties.com. I'm your host, Donna, and with me are my puggy co-hosts, Rosie and Kenji, as well as our special guest, Buster the Rescue Pug. Now, many years ago, when I rescued my first pug, Winston, a.k.a. Fatdog, through a local vet who was doing everything they could to save the life of a little pug whose only crime was that his family no longer wanted him and thought it was better to put him down than find a loving home, that I realised just how naive I was about the world of pugs and, more importantly, the world of rescuing. And that's why today's episode is actually so important. So today I'm talking to Joanna from Pug Rescue and Adoption Victoria. It's a volunteer community foster care network that rehabilitates pugs and at times Frenchies so that they find their forever loving family, and also so they never have to face the possibility of being put down because their owners no longer wish to care for them themselves. But before we zoom in, I want to remind you to subscribe to our newsletter in the show notes so you get advance notice of our next episode and much, much more. Hello, Joanna, and thank you for joining me on the Pug Life Show. How are you?
Hi, Donna. I'm great. Thank you for inviting me to the Pug Life.
No, I mean, well, most of my listeners will know that I foster rescue pugs whenever I can, and it's through Pug Rescue and Adoption Victoria that I actually do the fostering. My current foster pug is Buster, who is very happily snoozing at my feet in the office after a very busy Pugmas spectacular last weekend, which was absolutely spectacular. So I wanted you to come onto the show for the second last episode for season 3 so we could talk about what Pug Rescue is, what it does for our puggies, and importantly, what people can do over Christmas for pugs or to possibly help us out. So first things first, tell us about yourself and your fur family.
Okay, so myself, I have had pugs for 23 years. My first pug was Winston. And yes, I got him as a puppy, and I'm not even sure why I chose the name Winston, but it's a very pug name.
It's a good name.
I know that you had a Winston.
I had a Winston who was a pug rescue pug too.
Exactly. Yep. So Winston would have been 23 this year. He lived till he was nearly 16, and his best friend was Clementine. So Clementine was named after Winston Churchill's wife, who was Clementine Churchill, and she would have been 21 this year. So that's how long I've had pugs for, and I'm showing my age.
Who did? You could have gotten a pug at the age of 2.
When I was 2. Yes, exactly. So those were the I had seen pugs on TV, and way back then they had started becoming a very popular dog. And of course I said I want a pug. And I found Winston, and I can remember going and picking him up and bringing him home, and I think I had him in a basket on the trip home, which is not very safe when I look back on things right now. But
look what we did 20 years ago is 20 years ago.
I have better safety measures now when transporting, but yeah, that was the start of things. And then, yes, when Clementine was actually Winston's full sister, so same mum and dad. And she came along and they were inseparable until they passed away. So, yeah, that's what started it all. And
It's the
it
old
has
adage, once you've had one, you can't go back.
can't stop. Yeah. And in terms of Pug Rescue and Adoption Victoria, we officially started 15 years ago, so 2009. I had actually been in rescue for quite a lot longer than that. And I can remember fostering my first rescue when Clementine was probably 6 months, 8 months old. So I'd say I've been involved in rescue for about 20 years, which is a lot of
Crazy.
experience and crazy things going on, and yes, a lot of dogs and a lot of people, and
That's a lot of snot, a lot of
yeah,
pug litter, a lot of
a lot of
sneezes.
yeah, a lot of pug hair everywhere.
It's absolutely crazy. And so did you one of the founders for Pug Rescue? I'm trying to remember the backstory.
Yes. So
Yes.
I founded Pug Rescue and Adoption Victoria. There were previous rescue groups that I had helped out with, and the ladies retired because rescue drains you, and
Yeah.
they they sort of had enough, and there was a need for rescue, and I could see that need, and I could see that I could help. So, yes, I founded, along with a small group of people, Pug Rescue and Adoption Victoria, as it's known today, just over 15 years ago.
Which is just insane. So
Yeah.
off the top of your head, how many pugs in 15 years?
Very many, a thousand, but
It'd have to be over 1,000.
I do say to people that we not only help the ones coming through our rescue group, there's a lot of work that we do off the side, helping other dogs that don't officially come through the rescue group. So there's been thousands and thousands and thousands of dogs that Pug Rescue has helped over the years. And in terms of, we've been part of changing animal welfare in Victoria and Australia. So there's a lot of other breeds other than pugs, and we do help Frenchies too. But there's a lot of all of the breeds we've helped over the years. So you can't put a number on in terms of what you've helped or with rescue, just thousands.
Absolutely agree, but sometimes you do have to stop and think about, like, I know it sounds like it's the data, but it's like it's really hefty data.
Yeah,
Like 1,000 pugs, let's just say we'll round it. 1,000 pugs over 15 years. That's 1,000 families that have known and loved a pug who's had a second chance at life. And even if we were to, let's just do a rough order of magnitude price, in that a pug costs between $3,000 and $5,000
right
for
now.
care and surgeries and whatever it is to rehabilitate them, you are looking at tens of thousands of dollars raised and spent over the last 15 years, making these pugs as healthy as they can be, to then be able to go out into the world with the right family.
Yeah, yeah. But there's no time to stop and think in
No.
you. So
But sometimes we do have to actually stop and just go for 2 seconds. Wow, that's
yeah, yeah.
a
And
lot of work.
people will often remind me, I've got one foster carer that will say, Joanna, stop and think. You need to stop and think that you rescued that dog and saved that dog's life. And you honestly don't get to stop and think, because there's always another one coming through, or there's But yeah, there's a lot of dogs, and there's a lot of people. We've changed the life of a lot of dogs, but we've also changed the life of a lot of people as well. So people, people, dogs, pugs, people's families, and
Yes.
they bring a lot of love and happiness to everyone. And yeah, people will sort of often say, I didn't rescue them, or I didn't adopt them. They sort of saved me. They rescued me. So
I
I
know.
think we can
I
all
can
relate to that.
absolutely. Some days it's the only reason why you get out of bed, because it's
It
like,
is.
if I don't get out of bed, they're gonna die. Not
Yeah.
that they probably
No.
will. They will behave like they're gonna die, but
Yes. Yeah. If you don't actually get up and feed them and let them out, then there's going to be, more,
uh,
more issues created. So, yes. Yep.
so let's talk about Pug Rescue's philosophy. So not all rescues are created the same. So what is it about Pug Rescue that makes it different to other rescues?
Okay. So we sort of started off with the philosophy that we will take in any pug in need, and we take in a lot of Frenchies as well, that it doesn't matter if they can't see, or they're blind, or they're old, or they are paralyzed. We'll take them in, and we will try our best to rehab them. There's a lot that we take in that might be disabled. Your current foster Buster
Yeah.
is basically blind.
Yep.
It doesn't mean that he can't have a good life. I've had many disabled pugs over the past few years, and again, just because they can't walk normally, or you need to help them with toileting, or you need to push them in a pram, it doesn't mean that they can't have an amazing life. And one of my he passed away 2.5 years ago, little James, who had
Yes.
severe scoliosis and kyphosis and hemivertebrae. He only lived till he was 2.5, and he shouldn't have been alive, but he had a better life than I think
Mm-hmm.
most dogs did over those 2.5 years. So
Oh
he
yeah.
was involved in everything and very, very loved.
Very vocal.
Yeah. He had a
You knew when he
massive,
was in the room.
yeah, for a just over 4 kilo little boy, had a massive personality. So
Oh,
so that's sort of our philosophy, that yes, they may have issues, but they can still have a great life. Yes, if we can fix those issues via surgery, and we're very proactive with surgeries like the bolus surgeries, luxating patellas, eye surgeries, dental. We do a lot of dentals,
oh
but
yes.
yes. But we're very proactive in terms of trying to diagnose the issue. And then, yes, if you can do something about it, we'll do something about it. Or if we can find sort of methods to help them live quality, good life, then sort of the diagnosis is a good thing, because we know what we're dealing with, and we can tell the adopter, this is what this dog has, but it doesn't matter. They can have a great life. And yeah, like with Buster, your foster, his eyes, he's not going to really get any vision back, even with
No.
the eye specialist care and the eye drops. But he's been fully diagnosed by the eye specialist, and we've got him on special daily eye drops, which keep his eyes comfortable for him. So that's,
And he takes those eye drops with the thought of a pug knowing that there's a treat at the
There's
end
a
of
treat.
it.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, like buses, and even Kenji, who was my first foster, and was obviously a foster fail, the amount of, like, you look at Kenji, it was like 12 grand's worth of surgery between his spine and his hips and his knees. And then you've got Buster, who, like Buster was sort of the other end of the scale where it was a few $1,000s.
Yeah.
Both of them are living a great pug life at the moment, if I do say so myself, including Rosie, who is my only pug who's not a rescue pug. She was a rehome. She knows that she's got the good life and demands it. All of that care, how is that done? So what I'm sort of alluding to is do you get money from the government? Is it a people paid to do all this work?
So we always in debt to our amazing vets and specialists, and thank you to them. The way that we pay our bills is via fundraising. So you've run some fundraising events for us. We've just had the Pugmas Spectacular Christmas party put on for us to raise money. We also call out to people to donate, and we have some amazing donors who behind the scenes will be regular donors to us. And our adoption fees, of course, when we get an adoption fee in, basically that straight away goes to pay some of our vet bills down.
Yeah.
But in terms of government funding, we don't get any. We do apply for grant. There was a grant round that was just released. What is today? Is today Wednesday?
It was Monday, so just 2 days ago.
No, yesterday. It was yesterday. So yesterday, the government rehoming grant round opened at 9 a.m. There was 1.27 million on offer across all the rescue groups, including your big pounds and shelters, could apply. That funding, so you sat there and you entered manually dogs' details and you could get $500 per dog, which doesn't even cover basic a desexing these days.
Yeah.
And we're spending like $5,000 on a dog. That money ran out within an hour and a half.
Which
so
blows your mind, but also we're not really surprised. There are so many dogs out there at the moment.
And the stress from knowing I had to log on at 9 a.m. and sit there hoping that I was typing fast enough to get in a few submissions was extremely overwhelming. And from previous rounds, where everyone in rescue, foster-based rescue, sort of knows that it's incredibly, like this grant, when it comes out, the money just goes.
It's a numbers game. The ones that can type and have enough and as many people as possible typing, have the staff to do it, they're the ones that are getting the funding. So for a small rescue, yes.
Yes, and there's some other foster-based rescues that actually missed out on getting any submissions in. So we were able to get 2 submissions in, 30 dogs. So hopefully we get 15,000 coming through, but they still will have to approve it. But 15,000 doesn't even pay off our debt right now.
Yeah.
So that sort of shows, what we're working with in terms of our vet bills and food bills and, leads, collars, harnesses, toys, things like that. Yeah.
All the basics. We will circle back later and we'll talk about if any of the listeners do want to help, how they can help.
Yes.
So that's the money side. the people side? Because obviously pugs can't live by themselves. They can't go and rent a studio apartment. They have to go somewhere, and we're not a traditional
Yeah.
pound
Yep.
environment.
Okay. So I don't know whether the listeners understand the sort of rescue system that we have in Victoria, but there,
Run through the differences.
yes. So the pounds, there there are shelters. Your pounds are the ones that take in the animals that are found as strays, and they are held for a certain period. So if they're microchipped, it's a shorter period. If they're not microchipped and the owner can't be sort of located, then it's a slightly longer period. Your pounds are council based, so each council has to have a pound. So shelters are the next step from the pound system. Shelters then will take in the pound animals. So once they've done their time in the system, the shelter can take ownership of that animal, and shelters can have private owners surrender their animals to them. We, on the other hand, community foster network group, and we don't have a physical building. So we don't have kennels, we don't have a shelter. We have foster homes throughout Melbourne, and that's where our pugs and Frenchies live, whereas your pounds and shelters have their facilities and their their kennel there. They I'm not sure if people know that your big pounds and shelters can both be a pound and a shelter. So your big guys like the RSPCA and Lost Dogs Home, they are both pounds and shelters. They have contracts with the council to be the pound for lots of councils around their area. And then, yes, once the animal's sort of done its time in the pound system, then it can flip over to their shelter side of the system. So hopefully that explains things to people a little better.
No, that is
Um,
awesome. So
yeah.
why is Pug Rescue a community foster care network?
So we, in the community, we have private people in their private homes fostering. Yes, it would be great to have a big
Purpose-built
property.
facility would be
It
amazing.
would be amazing as a fallback, but then you don't actually see a lot of the dog's proper behaviours. But
Mm,
yes, we don't have the money to do that. So,
no. I mean,
um,
I always believe that pugs are human
driven. Yes,
animals. Putting
yep.
them into a pound situation
It's,
for long term would not be great for their mental health.
no, a shelter or a kennel
Mm,
situation. Yeah, you don't get to see their full sort of personalities, and yes, stressful environment,
mm.
everything like that. And we actually have the pounds and shelters contacting us to take dogs that are coming through their system. So we get a lot, like Buster came through the pound system to you,
To Pug
to foster,
Rescue,
to
the
pug
royal we.
rescue. Yeah. So they actually see the value in the foster side of rescue. The pound and shelter community see the value in what we do and ask us to take their dogs into care because the dogs just aren't coping in the pound shelter environment. So yes.
And so following on from that, like one of the funnels, I suppose, that pugs or Frenchies
Yep.
can come into pug rescue care is via a pound or shelter, but there are other ways that they can land on our
So
doorstep,
yeah.
inverted commas.
Yeah, look, people are always astounded that there's actually Pugs and Frenchies in rescue. They're like, where do these dogs come from? And literally they're coming from everywhere. So your upstanding citizen is surrendering a dog to me.
Yeah.
And we don't say who it is. We keep those things private. But you have everyone from, your upstanding citizen to your breeder is contacting us for help. And then, the pound and shelter system as well. So, yes.
And our philosophy is not to say no.
Yeah, it's hard. Like, we rescue since COVID ended has been in quite a terrible state and crazy. And there's more dogs coming through the system than ever. And when people contact you, yes, you try your best to try and get that dog into care. Sometimes there's no room and there's a lot of pressure by some people. Can you take my dog? Can you take my dog? And my saying is, okay, it can just go on my head. So, or you sort of just take it into care and then you work out where it can go once you've got it in care. So it's quite hard. And there's other rescue groups that will actually close their doors for a few weeks so that they can deal with things.
Mm.
Yeah. And I suppose I'm silly that we've never done that because I sort of fear that that will put dogs' lives at risk. But we should many times have said doors are closed. Doors are closed. And leading up to Christmas, it's going to be quite stressful because not only will we have more surrenders coming in and more pound and shelter transfers, we also have foster carers going away.
Yes.
So you have to move dogs around and find spots for those dogs, and it's quite difficult and stressful.
And actually, we were planning on talking about Christmas, but I think we should probably talk quickly about it now just because we've already had that lead in. Not that we've seen, like the RSPCA used to do these ads every Christmas. I remember growing up where they were talking about, a dog is forever or a pet is forever, whether it was a cat or a dog or anything else like that. And we haven't seen those ads for quite a while. But I think it's actually still quite relevant today in that if you are going to get a dog for a Christmas present, what would be the message that you would say to these parents thinking that they're doing the right thing?
Stop and think what your life's going to be like in 6 months, a year's time, 2 years' time. One of the questions we actually have on our adoption application is that when you're applying, if you're studying full time, what's your life going to be like in a few years' time when you start working full time? Or if you don't have kids and you're planning on having kids, is that dog still going to fit into your home and lifestyle in a few years' time? And that's a lot of our surrendering people actually say to us, we never thought that we'd surrender, but we're so busy now, or we've got the kids now, or I'm working full time, or I'm traveling for work. So, stop and think, are you going to be able to make a 14? Well, if you're getting a puppy, and I would like you to adopt one of our dogs over getting a puppy, please.
Absolutely.
We have so many, but can you make, a 14, 15-year commitment? Or if you're adopting one of ours, like we have a lot of young ones in care. So a year-old pug or Frenchie, still, are you going to be able to make a 14, 15-year commitment to that? Is your life going to change dramatically that you can't sort of have that dog in your life for its lifetime?
And they're great questions because it the endorphin rush of, oh my God, we're going to get a dog or we're going to get a
Yeah.
puppy or whatever else. And it just is, it's that 2 second breath of, I really do need to think about this. Like if I am traveling for work, am I happy with a house sitter or a pet sitter
Yeah.
or those sort of things? And they're great questions for people to think about going into. And
Yeah.
absolutely, I completely advocate adopt before buying.
Yes. And we right now, like, yes, a few years ago, there might have been only a few to choose from in terms of adopting. But in the last 6 months to a year or more, we literally have everything available from your young pug to your oldie,
Yeah.
male and female. Um, so that people will often inquire about one dog, and we sort of will ask them about their home and lifestyle and if they've got an existing dog, and that dog might not suit them, but we will suggest other ones that suit perfectly.
Hmm.
So there usually is one that will match up with your home. Yes.
And unfortunately, sometimes prospective families need to understand that because we know the dog so well,
Yes. Yep.
that it is in the best interest of the pug that we are either saying no or yes.
Yeah. Yep. And it's not about them being not good people or anything like that. It's about not setting the dog up for failure and also not setting them up for failure. So
Mm.
because think about how long I've been doing this for. I'm pretty good at knowing dogs and also knowing people. I think I've got a psychological psychological.
You have the zen.
I get people very well.
And it
So
is. It's almost like it's matchmaking. It's like
it is.
it's even better than online speed dating. Maybe we need to do a puggy speed dating fundraising event. That'd be so funny. Hi, I'm your prospective foster mum. How do you feel about me? Oh, you're walking off. Okay, that
I
means that you don't like me.
don't like my looks. That's okay.
I don't smell the right smell. I didn't bring the right treats.
So yeah, it's not about. Look, we just had someone emailing today who they sound like a lovely home, and they emailed they'd had like a very senior pug pass away, and they have a little terrier, young female terrier girl
Mm.
that they thought would match really great with. They suggested 3 of our young female pugs, and I've replied back to them saying I'm really sorry, but all of those girls are going to become reactive with
Mm.
not only another female, and reactive and fight with not only another female, but another, like, very different breed of dog.
Mm.
Uh, and they didn't quite understand. They said, but she was fine with our pug that passed away.
And it,
Fantastic.
yeah, and it's
So, yeah.
personality.
Yeah, yeah. So these girls, and I said, we don't want to set you guys or your existing dog up for failure,
Mm.
because we know our dogs so well, and you've got to trust us on this. And the thing is, a lot of people, we've had quite a few surrenders that people have gone off and gotten a pug from elsewhere.
Yeah.
Because we've said, no, that's not going to match. One of ours that you're applying for isn't going to match. And they've gone off and gotten one from elsewhere, and then they've surrendered that to us
Yeah.
because,
It
yeah,
hasn't worked.
it hasn't worked.
Well,
So,
speaking of the adoption process, run us quickly through the process because pug rescue is different to other rescues as to how
so
how we match the romance between family and pug.
So once the dog has gone through the rehab process, so usually lost a lot of weight, undergone a lot of behavioral training, undergone a lot of surgeries and the surgery rehab, they'll be listed for adoption with their profiles on our website. And we ask for people to just email in and tell us a bit about themselves and their existing pug or Frenchie. And yes, if they send back we send out an adoption application that they fill in. Usually people who send them back, they have actually wonderful application that they
I've
go
thought
into.
about it.
Yeah, a lot of detail, and that's amazing. If things look great, then we actually go out to the home and do a meet and greet in the actual home. It depends on the dog, and I know a lot of other rescue groups, the different breeds, like they will start out in a park or going for a co-walk on the street because different breeds sort of will be different, but pugs generally get along with other pugs. So we have found over the years that if we start out in the backyard generally, then things are pretty good, and let the dogs meet and the people meet, and then we can go inside and see how the dogs interact inside. It's very different to actually going to a park or a kennel or shelter to meet a prospective dog that you're adopting, because you're not seeing the same behaviors in those places as you're seeing in the family home where the dog's going to live. So we can sort of pick up things like, yes, if your existing dog's going to be jealous.
Yeah. Get away from my bowl, my bed, my bone, my everything, my family.
My couch. Yeah. So we can see that, and we can also give tips and tricks on how to sort of stop that from happening. We will check fences, of course, and just check things like, are there bins that the dogs are going to get into, or are there things that they're going to hurt themselves on or fall off, or things like that. One of our recent Frenchie adoptions, the family, they had two dogs next door that were fence running when their existing Frenchie and our boy went outside. And because of my experience, I know that and the two Frenchies went and fence run as well.
Yeah.
From my experience, I knew that behaviour was not going to stop. So I did ask those adopters to put up a fence barrier to stop those dogs getting to that side of the yard. And they did. So things like that, and that family, awesome family. And they sort of, because they don't have the experience that I do, they sort of thought, oh, they could train it out of the dog. But no, if you speak to any trainer, fence running's sort of a common problem, and the way to stop it is to stop the dogs getting to that fence.
And sometimes the best thing is just removal.
Yes. Yeah.
Remove them from the situation.
And take them away from that high drive excitement as well. So things like that, when we come out to do the meet and greets and the fence and house checks, we're able to offer sort of a training service as well. On top of, yes, we're bringing the dog out to you to potentially adopt. So once we've done the meet and greet, which usually is meant to last like 40 minutes to an hour, usually lasts longer.
Well, they're having so much fun.
Yeah. a lot of people will say to us, yes, we want the dog, when can we? But we say sleep on it. We'll always say to the people, yes, you're a great home. Like, there's been a few over the years that I've walked away from and sort of said, no, it's not going to work. I'm sorry. But generally, yes, when we do the meet and greets, it's generally just for the people to meet the dog and just to, check the fences and make little adjustments for things.
Yeah.
And we will say, yes, you're a great home. We want you to adopt this dog, but you guys need to sleep on it and let us know, like, in the next day or so if you'd like to go through with it. And then if they do decide to, then we actually come out again and go through, like, the adoption paperwork and, the settling in and the moving in stuff. So,
And it's a lengthy process for a reason, and it's probably we went through it with Winston and Charles, and that was like 15 years ago, I think now.
Yeah.
And I was just blown away about how thorough it was. But it's as a family that obviously had to go through that process, I was actually happy because for me as well, it was like, are we doing the right thing? And, are these guys the right fit for us? It was really nice that Winston and Charles thought that we were good enough to allow us to live with them. I can't say thank you enough to Jo for coming onto the PUGCAST and talking about the work of Pug Rescue and Adoption Victoria. And as she said during our conversation, rescue puggies save their humans' lives as much as humans save rescue puggies' lives. It's a beautiful bond that I think is doubly special because a pug's love is so unique. So if you're able to give a rescue puggy their Christmas wish of a loving forever home, or give a rescue puggy their Christmas wish of life-saving surgery or life-altering surgery, then please head over to pugrescue.org.au and grant their wish. Both options will make a difference, and it's a gift that has long-lasting effects because it's saving a life that will bring joy all year round, not just at Christmas time. And if you'd like to keep in touch with Pug Rescue and Adoption Victoria, you can find them both on Facebook and Instagram. We'd also love to hear your rescue puggy stories, so please join us over in our Facebook group, the Pug Life Show Podcast. If you're not a member of the group, I invite you to join us now and let us know what you thought of the episode. Plus, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss out on the next episode. And while you're at it, leave us a review. It only takes a couple of seconds to give us a 5-star review, and it goes a long way to helping other pug parents find us. So until next time, thank you for joining us. Have a pawsome week, and humans, be generous with the snackies.